Hello, YouTube. It's your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, coming at you again with another YouTube video. The title of this video is called How Passport Bros Went from the Scapegoat to Teflon Don in Medellin. The way this video came about was, as you know, over the past month or so, there's been a lot of talk about Medellin, and there was talk about bans in Medellin and also in Cartagena at one point. In Medellin, the mayor had put together pretty much he banned red light activities in the park. I think it was Parque Alaris. Um, he banned it there temporarily because unfortunately there was some stuff that went on, some illegal activities with some youngins there that shouldn't have happened. So, which Pastor Bros don't agree with in general, don't agree with at all. And so anyway, that went down. So the mayor, rightfully so, banned. Well, that activity was completely banned, but it also affected legal red light activities as well. And so there was a lot of talk about now foreigners not being welcome in Medellin. There was a picture of him, the mayor at the airport, passing out flyers trying to say that you can't come here for these type of activities, that kind of thing. And then, as you know, in Cartagena, at one point they had banned a lot of the red light activities and like the clock tower area and that kind of thing. And so I kind of wanted to get my piece on this. I never really spoken on it. I had meant to for a while, but I kept putting it off. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that and just say that, as you can see, and I kind of already predicted this. For example, we'll start with Cartagena. As you know, at one point they were saying that they were going to ban the activity from the tower, but I knew that wasn't going to last long for the fact that Paso Bros and just a lot of the um, red light activities that some Paso Bros take part in, that contributes a lot to the GDP there. It kind of helps, also stimulate jobs and so forth. If you think about all the Ubers, the clubs, men going there to buy drinks, the restaurants in that area, all of that kind of benefits from a lot of the red light activities that take place in that area. Not to mention that there's a lot of poverty in Colombia in general. I think about at least a third of the population is in poverty, some in extreme poverty as well. So any type of money being exchanged from foreigners to the locals there is good for the economy. And I'm sure, as you know, since there's not much room for growth, there's not many jobs being created. That they would that money is used and very much needed. So anything that's going to kind of like put a hamp on that, I can't really see that lasting for a long time. And as predicted, as you can see, slowly they were saying that the clubs were back open, things are going popping back to normal, that kind of thing. And to prove my point, I wanted to touch on a few little videos. So, for example, here is a video that was done, and this was done about 5 days ago. Columbia Cartagena updated downtown close to normal and much watch. And as you can see, this content creator, his name is Danger the Hookup. He's pretty much giving a view of the club scene in Cartagena currently right now. And as you can see, it's pretty much popping. Everything is back to normal. A lot of the red light activities are there. Now, I haven't been in Cartagena. I've been there once, but I haven't been there recently. So I can't say for certain. But just from what he showed me in this video, and you can type this into YouTube as you will and check it out. From what I've seen, it looks like everything is pretty much back to normal. And even besides that, I mean, all you have to really do, you can still find these activities online. You really don't have to go to that area. But supposedly, what I was hearing was this was because of like all of the drug-ins and that kind of thing, which is what to some degree is a good thing, because they were saying a lot of times the girls that were participating in the drug-ins and that kind of thing, these were girls usually that were outside of the clubs, so they felt like what the mayor here was trying to do was trying to get rid of all the riffraff girls that were harming tourists and just bringing down that area in general. They would prefer those girls to go in the club or be hired by some of the clubs and that kind of thing. But you had a lot of independent women that didn't want to necessarily be like a contractor for some of these clubs. But either way, as you can see, everything went right back to normal, as I said before. Everyone was saying this is the end of Cartagena. Pastor Bros ruined it. They're getting kicked out, all the stuff like that. And as you can see, everything is right back to normal. As I said, I've already stated this many times in my previous video that we do contribute a big portion to the economy there. Now, tourism isn't the hugest export, the hugest piece of GDP in Colombia. I believe it's like 3%. But nevertheless, when 30% of the population is in poverty, I mean, you don't have much room for like you don't have much room to uh cause crashes in certain industries, and as I'm going to show you in an article, it actually was an movement within Colombia to pretty much be competitive and competitive to all the other countries to try to drive more tourism towards Colombia, as it was creating more jobs and stimulating their economy and so forth. So I already knew that this wasn't going to last long, and to add to that, same thing in Medellin with supposedly them cracking down on the Airbnbs and then the mayor going out and so forth and them banning that area. There actually was videos in which, and I didn't have a chance, I wasn't able to find it, but there were videos in the past where actually some of the locals there, they actually were upset about this ban because a lot of restaurant owners were saying that's going to drive away tourism, that's going to drive away a lot of people coming to their businesses. So they're saying, in a sense, by you doing this, you're actually punishing some of the people that didn't take part in these legal red light, activities, because people there, business was booming. People was flooding those areas, going to the restaurants, using the hotels and so forth. But because of that ban, that kind of cut into their profits, which means they're going to have to eventually let some people go because they're not going to be making the same amount of money they were making before. So actually, there was more people. There was a lot of people actually protesting this, and these were the locals. So you have that going on. Same thing with them saying that they're going to crack down on Airbnbs. I can show you right here. You still can book Airbnbs, those areas and so forth. There's no issue with the Airbnbs. Even when people saying, "Oh, he's cracking down on the apps and so forth." I recently, because I do a lot of times in the past, I've used Latin American Cupid, even though a lot of people say don't use the apps because obviously you can do short code approach, that kind of thing. But I've used Latin American Cupid in the past without any issues, and even recently, even though I don't really use the app anymore, but I still get in my Google, my Gmail. I still get alerts of girls who are still tagging me, and I can still visibly go into the app and still see the girls. So I don't really see any ban. Now I don't use Tinder. I wasn't really a fan of Tinder to begin with, and that's primarily what a lot of the scope queens were going to. They were going to Tinder to try to get guys to, you know, uh, try to meet up with them through the use of that app. I never really used Tinder. This was mainly the app that I had used in the past was the Latin American Cupid. But even now, it's still, I don't really see any much of a difference. Just to be honest with you. Um, yeah, so you have that, but I wanted to go a little deeper into this. I felt like a few articles I just wanted to touch on to kind of speak on this. This was an article. Now this is an older article, but it's still very relevant. Then this was done in 2020, right around that pandemic stage, and I just want to read like a little piece to kind of give you a sense of how much tourism really adds to the economy there, how much is really really needed, and thus why I said Passport Bros went from scapegoat to the Teflon dime because we're very much needed there. And as you know, there are recent protests in Medellin. One of them is, and in fact, one of the reasons why the mayor was cracking down on the Airbnb is not necessarily because of the red light, activities. To me, that was just a scapegoat. The real issue is because so many tourists are going to Medellin and staying there and getting apartments. A lot of the Airbnbs, these used to be apartments for some of the locals, but as more tourists come there and move in and rent out these Airbnbs and try to become like digital nomads and so forth, it's shrinking the pool of available housing for the locals. So locals were complaining for this reason. So that's why you start seeing signs saying that they want a lot of the foreigners to go home. It had nothing to do with the red light activities. It had more to do with limited housing, and not to mention the fact that because now more tourists were going there and getting apartments and Airbnbs, it was raising the price of rent. As I said before, I believe the average Colombian is only making like $250 a month. So would you causing inflation and causing the rent to rise is causing a problem. That was the reason why they were trying to push out a lot of the tourists. The other thing is, and one master teacher, he spoke on this a lot. He said the other reason is because um, with so many, I hate to say it, simpish passport bros coming there doing things for example, throwing money at clubs, For example, the girls, they may only ask for, let's say they ask for 200 mil. Of course, you got passport bros there giving them double that, sometimes giving them more than that. And because some of the women know that they can probably get more out of the men, they're asking for these extreme prices. And some of the passport bros, some of these men that are visiting there, they're paying these prices even though they even though it's way above what the market price would be. And this is for the guys who do participate in, we'll just say the P for P, that kind of thing. By men being willing to pay these prices, that was causing inflation in the red light market. So as a result, the local men, again, who make $250 a month there, at one point they were able to somewhat at least be able to afford that. They can no longer, in some cases, afford that. So of course, that caused some resentment in them towards the foreigners, and as a result, a lot of them were trying to push the passport bro and tourists out in general because it raises the prices. That was a big push for it. It had nothing to really do with you coming there and so-called exploiting the women, doing all because they're doing it themselves. You know, the biggest thing is that it makes it harder for them now to compete and actually get be able to participate in red light activities because they don't have the funding to do so. So they kind of want you to leave to make the prices drop down. And to some degree, it kind of had an effect by a lot of men now, even when they're talking about how Medellin is no more and they're leaving. It actually is doing exactly what they wanted to happen. They wanted the prices go down because at that point, by women not now having so many we'll say clients and that kind of thing, clientele not being that big, of course now they got to kind of take less, so it kind of helps them to some degree. So that really is the main driver. And what's so funny about this is, for example, when I used to go to Costa Rica, you probably can deal with a when I was doing the P for P, put it this way, when I was in Costa Rica now and I was dealing with the P for P, the P for P at that time. Some girls, maybe you can deal with them, maybe $50, sometimes a little less than that, and so forth. Now I got to be very careful because Big Brother's listening. But at that time, some girls will go maybe like $50. They'll try to negotiate upward. But now they're starting off at like $100, some 120, 150, that kind of thing. And I'm like, man, when I used to go to Costa Rica, that was no more than about maybe like 5 years ago. So within 5 years, the inflation has really gone up. You almost got to pay double now. You almost got to pay double now. Even when even some hotel prices a little bit more than usual. So and even then when I was dealing with the girls and paying that kind of price, and there was guys I met. Because sometimes on the plane I'd meet like other travelers and so forth. There was one guy I met, and he was just saying how at one point Costa Rica used to be very booming. It was even to some degree almost half what I was paying. So as as time goes on, as inflation gets stronger in every country, even the United States, even right now the prices we're complaining about, it'll probably be even more than that at some point. Unfortunately. So that being said, with all the guys on YouTube saying that Medellin is gone and all stuff like that, the way I look at it is, well, that's more for me because as a lot of those guys don't go to Medellin, they go somewhere else, they go to Brazil. That leaves me and the local guys to kind of enjoy the discount, discount in the red light areas, and even in the dealing with the regular girls because now there won't be as many suitors, which means it's better for me and for the local man because now there's less competition. So that's why I don't really, to some degree, put it this way, I mind, but I don't mind at the same time because managing, to me, Colombia is kind of a gym. It's kind of a gym. So there's a lot of guys avoiding saying it's too soon. I say, if you want to if you want to miss out on a lot of the gyms, a lot of the beautiful women in Colombia, because you're worried about exaggerated news claims and hype and scope queens, which only affects less than 1% of travelers and so forth. If you want to do that, that's the you. But the way I look at it is more women for me. Well, more women for me, more freedom. It actually makes travelers more exotic because when there's less tourists coming to Colombia, when they do finally see one, you're going to get better treatment. So I actually don't mind. Instead, what this is doing is just driving more traffic towards like Brazil, Peru, some of these other countries, which is fine with me because I actually, one of my favorite countries really is Colombia. I've been to various countries I've been through all throughout Europe. I've been in, I've been to Thailand. So I'm not really fighting it. But anyway, let me get into this article because I've been already kind of going on a tangent. So I kind of want to wrap this video up too. But anyway, how tourism can jumpstart Colombia's economy. Let's look at this. This is what it was saying. Da, 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 da. Yeah. So, but in Colombia's policymakers, business leaders are always thinking about how the industry can play a central role in the country's economic recovery. The pandemic gave us a better understanding of what we were doing wrong. The industry is going to see an overhaul and pivot towards sustainability. Before the pandemic, tourism was an increasingly important sector in Colombia's economy. Foreign visitors in Colombia grew to 300% between 2006 and 2019. And as you can see, it says we contribute to about 4% of the GDP. And it said then the pandemic came and a closure of business and borders pushed hotel occupancy below 3% nationwide. And look how many jobs. There was over 200,000 jobs that have been affected when the pandemic hit. So when the passenger roads weren't coming to Colombia, it had a devastating impact on the economy. To add to that, the government has already taken measures to support the struggling industry during the pandemic. They had a commitment to subsidizing 1,500 tour guides who were out of work for the next 3 months. And they did things in addition. All tours and hotel services are exempt from VAT until December 31st. And right now they were trying to do a reactivation of the tourism industry because they're saying this cannot be a short term focus, which means they're going to be doing a long term strategy to drive more tourists towards Colombia. Look at this. One long term strategy involves investing seriously in infrastructure. In the World Economic Forum 2019 Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index, Colombia ranked 55 out of 140 countries. Um, yeah, so if you want to read this article, it's called How Tourism Can Jumpstart Colombia's Economy. And I just wanted to show you that in general, as you can see, that they're trying to build long-term strategies towards driving more tourists. So if that's the case, uh, and yeah, if that's the case, then you already know they have incentive to try to keep you there. So if they know these bans are going to push tourists out, that's going to affect their economy. So that's why if you notice when the Medellin mayor did that ban in Medellin, it was only going to be short term because they know they need the tourists to come in there. They realize how much of an impact that tourism really has on the economy. So that's why I call us the Teflon Dons because you can try to put up any type of blocks you want. As you see now, you people protesting foreigners and so forth. It's not really going to go anywhere. I mean, we're a huge part of the economy. We're kind of there, so it's not much. I mean, people could complain, but me personally, anyway, I've always been a person that says go in under the radar, don't draw a lot of attention to yourself. So when I come to Medellin, I'm not doing things like throwing money everywhere. I'm very respectful to all the locals. I tip well. I just try to make sure that when people think of foreigners, they have a good taste in their mouth. I try not to leave a bad taste in the locals' mouth about foreigners there. I kind of want them to, actually enjoy us and have a positive experience with foreigners. And I'm going to leave on this last article. This talks about the poverty in Colombia. Now, this is February 7th. Colombian extreme poverty on the rise, but we have the tools to do so. I just wanted to draw your attention to this. Now, remember, Cartagena is where they were trying to ban people from the clock tower. Now, let's read this. Let's see what it says. News reporting for Colombia National Statistics Governance Arm shows that we saw a rise in the number of Colombians experiencing extreme poverty last year. A trend most notably observed in where Cartagena, where the extreme poverty rate surged from 10% to 12%. 13.8 Colombians are living on less than about $2.5 a day. These individuals struggle every day to secure food, shelter, and face impossible decisions like choosing between feeding their child and sending them to school. Now, that being said, as you can see, does that seem like something where they can just risk losing jobs kicking people out, telling them don't come back to Colombia and so forth. They might not like it, but at the end of the day, I mean, you know, it's kind of like you go to work, you don't write your boss, but in the day he's writing a check. I mean, it's kind of a, I mean, it's kind of put it away. It's kind of like a necessary evil to that extent. So that being said, I don't think people are gonna be complaining and so forth, but it's not much. I mean, based on the way that the U.S. dollar runs, the U.S. dollar is still king. It's not much you really can do unless you're willing to take out the United States, which ain't gonna happen. And as you can see at the border, there's people even from Colombia flooding the border of the United States. I think it's very hypocritical for you to try to come into our country, but at the same time, you don't want Americans or men from the West to go there in general. So I don't think we're going anywhere. Colombia is going to be Colombia. Medellin is still going to be flourishing. Cartagena as well. Though those are not my, not some of my favorite. I do like. I spend a lot of time in Barranquilla as well. But I'm always a fan of staying outside of the bigger cities to begin with. So that's why even to some degree it didn't really bother me. I only go there because I have a girl that lives in Medellin. But outside of that, I actually prefer the smaller cities better. You get treated better. There's less tourists there. It's just a better experience. But nevertheless, Pastor Bros, we're the Teflon Don. I mean, they can do whatever they want. They can try to make us a scapegoat, say all types of stuff about it, but we're not really going anywhere. I mean, nothing's really going to stick, So I'm going to leave it at that. But you guys, let me know what you think about all this chaos that's taking place in Colombia. Is Colombia on your list? Have you removed it? Are you going to go somewhere else? Do you even have an interest going to Colombia anymore? Like, I know there's a lot of people going to Brazil, Peru instead. But tell me what you think. Leave some comments. I'll respond to your comments. Hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell. Subscribe to my channel if you have not. And until next time, this is your boy, the Passport Bro Wingman, signing.
Dear Passport Boys, dear Passport Bros, stop calling yourself Passport Boys and Passport Bros. Are you going to the Philippines to look for a Filipina queen or what? So stop calling yourself Passport Boys and Passport Bros. Start calling yourself Passport Kings.